ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Lion's Den on the Tower. It's Lindenwood Student Radio. I'm James Z.
And I'm Emily G.
And today we're joined by the Lindenwood women's basketball coach, Amy Eagan.
And before we get into the show, we want to give a big shout out to Jacob for getting this all set up, and Amy for finding the time to fit us into your busy schedule, and to Evan's Dining Hall.
Yep, it is the loudest environment in student radio. We are happy to be back. We've been kind of in and out the last few weeks, but we are back home in a cafeteria doing student radio the way God intended. And also special thanks to Caleb Woods back in the studio for board opping tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your day to make this all possible. So before we start the show, Amy, we like to have any coach or athlete we have on here introduce themselves to our audience. So if you could just give them a few words about who you are and why you're here tonight.
Yeah. Amy Eagan. I'm the head women's basketball coach here at Lindenwood in my second year of taking over the program. I'm from a small town in Shobina, Shobina, Missouri, and grew up in a small town, went to Truman State, had some coaching stops. Obviously, Drury led me to this. So just off and running here and building a program and, working towards cutting down some nets.
Where did you say you were from again?
Shobina, Missouri.
Where's that at?
It's about 30 miles west of Hannibal, Missouri. So it's pretty close. It's
okay. Yeah, it's not too far away.
I have a lot of family in St. Louis, and a lot of people I grew up with have navigated a little bit this way. So I get a lot of people at the games watching us. So it's pretty fun and exciting whenever you have people that you know in the stands.
Yeah. And what got you into basketball as a kid? I know, for me, I'm a dancer, and getting into dance was always so fun to relive, kind of.
Yeah.
And then how did you know that coaching was for you after that?
Yeah. Well, I have a crazy story with the coaching part, but when I was growing up, I'm one of 5 kids and the oldest, and things, I don't want to date myself, but I'm going to. Things were so different back then with sports. You didn't start in 2nd, 3rd grade or at 5 years old, as early as they start these days. So I kind of really just started playing in 5th and 6th grade, and it was just 5th and 6th grade basketball. We didn't have AAU or anything like that, and I just kind of gravitated towards it and had some success with it, and really enjoyed the competition part of it and competing with it. And I never had AAU, I never had a trainer, I never had any of that kind of stuff. So just grew up in middle school, then high school, and then had the opportunity to go play in college. It's crazy. The coaching part of it is just crazy because, when I went to school and went to college, I was never I want to be a college coach, I want to coach. I honestly thought that I was probably going to end up teaching in high school and then being at the high school level with stuff. And, I got a crazy call. I had graduated from college, and I was getting ready to start my master's in education back at Truman. And I got a call from my cousin, who was at Quincy University. She was actually playing there, and said, hey, we need an assistant. Why don't you come over and hop right in and be assistant for us? And I was like, I don't know. But, I went on my interview, and by the time I walked off the campus from my interview, I was like, if I blew that because I didn't prepare enough, because I didn't think I wanted that job, I'm going to be mad. But I was fortunate and grateful that I ended up getting that job. And then, I was in coaching as an assistant for 4 years, and I had just a great mentor. And then he shoved me away and said, go be a head coach. Had great 2 years as a head coach. And then I actually got out of coaching for about 2.5, 3 years. And came back, honestly, to St. Louis and got into Walgreens as an EXA, executive assistant, and then became an assistant and then had my own store. But I'm going to tell you what, the business world and the customer service world, I did not enjoy. And, sometimes you have to get away from something to realize that maybe you're meant to do it, or that how much you enjoy doing it and love it. And I think it was probably the best thing for me. So then I was able to get back in. I've been in it since.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So
really crazy.
Coming from just, you're playing college, you come in as an assistant coach. Mm-hmm. What did you have to do to prepare, and what was that like coaching in the beginning?
Yeah, well, now a lot of times we have graduate assistants, and back then we didn't. So now as a graduate assistant, you kind of get, things here and there and get to kind of work your way into an assistant job. And there, I was the lone assistant there. And so, when you talk about, hey, here you go learn, I was given a lot of opportunity to learn. I was given a lot of responsibilities and a lot of room to grow. And I think that's really, really important when you look at being an assistant and who you work for. So, it was a lot of learning. It was a lot of time commitment. But again, I was very fortunate with who I worked for.
Yeah. And how often are you able to call from your experiences from your playing days? That experience from just being a player, being on that court whenever you're coaching.
Yeah, I think when you look at being a player and you look at being an assistant coach and even a head coach, I think you're always growing, particularly as an assistant coach and a player. I think you really take experiences from who you've worked for and form your own philosophies with being a head coach. And there's a lot of things, even as a player, that, one thing that stands out that I talk to my kids a lot about, one of the things I knew that was really important to me was to be consistent in who I was. Whether we won, whether we win, whether we lose, whether it's a good day, whether it's a bad day, is just to be consistent so that every day when I show up, they know what they're getting. I never felt like I got that, in college. I was always like, is she in a good mood? Is she in a bad mood? Are we going to run a lot today? All those kind of things. So I think from every experience, I think I tried to learn stuff that helped me develop into my philosophy today.
And so in your last season before coming here, you were at Drury, which you finished with a 31-2 record and were perfect in conference play. What made you want to move on from all that success and then come to Lindenwood and coach here for the Lions?
Yeah, man, winning's fun, and Jason, the AD here, would tell you this story. So, Jason called me and said, hey, we're interested in you coming here and rebuilding this program. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. I'm not interested. We had a role in there. We were winning at a really high level, and we had everything set within our program, and I was happy with what we were doing. And, he drove down the next day and said, just go to dinner with me. And so, I went to dinner with him, and we really didn't talk X's and O's. We just talked about culture, and we talked about Lindenwood, and what his philosophy was and where he wanted to help take Lindenwood and the process of the transition, that kind of stuff. And by the time I left him, I was like, man, I'm kind of interested in this job. And so he brought me on campus, and then I met with Dr. Porter. And by the time I left his office, I was in my mind, I was like, there's no way I can turn this down. I think their commitment to what we're doing here and commitment to winning, because it does take a lot, to win, especially when you're talking about flipping a program over and you're talking about the transition and those kind of things. Their commitment has really shown, and I think that's a great reason why you see women's volleyball and women's soccer and so many sports right now starting to flip that switch and starting to really go win some games and change some things in their program, is just because I think they really, really want every sport here to be successful.
And I think the success has been really fun to watch this year with all of these teams, especially on the women's side. I work for Maine Media, so we do a lot of ESPN broadcasts, and you get the opportunity to watch the games, and a lot of people will just sit down the outside and watch the record. They don't get to make it to the games. They're not watching the games. But I feel like everybody that I've worked with, we've seen the change, and it's been really fun to watch this year. Especially, like, all the women's teams are super competitive. They seem to have a good mindset, a good culture kind of building here. And I looked back at an interview you did before the season with Valley Hoops Insider. You said that you were expecting a challenge coming here, but you felt ready for that challenge at the time. For you, what was the biggest challenge last year, and how do you feel that you handled it?
Wow, there was a lot of challenges. I think the biggest one when you take over a program is really setting your culture and setting, what you want that to look like day in and day out inside the program, whether it's your staff, whether it's your players, all that kind of stuff. And so I think that was probably the biggest challenge. We brought in 11 new kids, and of those 11 new kids, 9 of them were freshmen. So now you're talking about taking a bunch of freshmen, particularly, who have no clue about college basketball, and teaching every step of the way what it should look like, what it looks like to win in the locker room, what it looks like to win in the classroom, what it looks like to win in the community. And asking them to do a lot. And so I think, that was one of the biggest challenges, is just really laying that groundwork. And, after this season, I had a lot of people ask me, are you mad that you left Drury, with the season that you guys had, and absolutely not. Like, I loved our team last year. Those kids were so committed to what we're doing. I think if you watch them play, if you hang out with them, you'd be able to see that. Like, they're really invested in what we're doing here, and they knew what they were getting themselves into with turning this program over. And they work really hard. They're good kids, good people, and they're making some strides for sure with it. But I definitely think that, one of the benefits of last year, one of the things that we did a really good job at, was really setting our culture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched a lot of games last year. Let's get main media, so we're doing camera work. And I saw a team that sometimes outsized, maybe didn't match up as well as they wanted to with their opponents, but they fought.
Yeah.
They went hard at loose balls. They were rebounding hard. They were just giving it their all on the court. And you could really feel the energy in the stadium whenever they were playing. How are you able to get the team, especially when you had a lot of new people, to buy in and compete that hard that early?
Yeah, I think, a lot of that is we spend a lot of time having conversations with them, and having conversations with them not only just to help them through the process of the basketball side of things, but also to get to know them. And, one of the things we knew is that we had to get them to, I always think the two biggest things when you talk about going from high school to college is the speed of the game and how physical it is. Those are the two things you got to get kids to really buy into or get to type stuff. And so, sometimes a lot of times in practice last year, we had have to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get them to that next drill, just to get them to go to that speed of the game. They allowed us to coach them really, really hard last year, and they knew, like, we needed to coach them hard. We needed to get them to where they wanted to, because they do want to win. Right. And so I would definitely say that with it.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot on, like, the basketballs, Instagram and everything. You guys are out in the community. You're out there. You're making those connections with the community. And that's also been, like, something coaches on the show have seemed to love about Lindenwood. For you, what has been your favorite part about being at Lindenwood and coaching here?
Yeah, I think the community is so, so important. And I kind of, I know Jason kind of challenged the community this year to kind of get out and get to games and that kind of stuff. I just think it's really important, but I think you got to play your part in it. And, we try to make sure that our kids are doing at least one community service a month. I think it helps, not even them get out in the community, but helps keep them grounded, to show them how lucky they are to be in the situation they're in. I just think that's really important, because we get a lot. I mean, we get a lot. So we want to be grateful for what we're given with stuff. But I think, my favorite part of Lindenwood, and I say this a lot to people, are the people on campus. We have just great staff, great people that are willing to help. And I'm not even just talking about the athletic department. I'm talking about, Becky up in mental health, and just people all across campus, that are just really invested in doing whatever they can, not just for my program, but for all the athletes here and all the kids on campus here. And I think that's what makes this place really, really special.
Yeah, I agree. I love every single department here. I work up in student involvement, and they're always, like, checking in on me, because my boss is out right now since she's, like, about to give birth to 2 twins. So
I think that's fair.
Yeah. But, like, she's like, oh, just come on over. Come whenever the twins come, just come on over and we'll just have a chat. And I was like, okay. I spent 4 hours there with her. But
she probably needed a break too.
Yeah, she's like, I need a break from the dogs. I need a break from the farm. Come over. We'll have girl chat.
Yeah, fun times.
There's a lot of people that, across campus that check in on me and check in on our kids, and I just think that's really special. I don't think you find that at every place, and when you talk, I think about a campus that's not extremely small, but, mid-size type stuff, I think it's harder to find sometimes at those mid-size and bigger schools, and I think we're very, very fortunate to have that.
Once again, we are in the loudest environment in student radio, but that's
I think they were clapping for you guys.
Yeah, they were clapping because your response was so awesome.
We'll get into last season now. So last year, if you looked at the team's record, you'd think that it was a season of failure. But I think that if you watch those games, there were a lot of positives and there to build on across the board. For you, what were some of those positives and that you took from last season into this season?
Yeah. I think there's a ton. I think first, like I said before, was we really laid the groundwork. We really taught everything from the bottom up. It took a ton of time, but we really taught everything from the bottom up, what we wanted the locker room to look like, what we wanted, practice to look like, what we wanted our kids as teammates to look like, what we wanted to look in the classroom. I think we really did those things. And I think that's really, really important. I think I can tell you one of the things I've said multiple times, is we did develop a lot of patience, for sure, takeaways. But I think one of the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, and we knew that with it. So getting those kids some experience was really, really important to us. We also knew, like, as we were going through the process, that we were going to have to fill some gaps this year and some things that we were missing last year. I thought, we struggled, and we're going to struggle a little bit still this year. I don't think we're completely there yet with our style of play and where we want to be with our style of play. That stuff just takes some time.
Right.
Now, are we better and above last year? Yes. I mean, we had a scrimmage today, and man, our press was about 100 times better than last year. But are we there yet? No, we're not all the way there yet. We're not able to do that for 40 minutes yet. So I think there's a lot of takeaways in regards to, we set the groundwork. I think there's a lot of things that we knew we had to continue to fill, whether it was with the portal or with incoming kids, which I think we did a good job at. But I also think that, like, we've got to continue to do those things. We're not there yet.
Well, you mentioned new players, new faces that you had last year, and one of those players was Ellie Brueggemann coming in as a freshman in your first year. She led the team in scoring, minutes, blocks. What do you expect from her in her second season?
Yeah, well, what a lot of people don't know, and maybe they do, but Ellie was really sick last year. She got, about January, she got very iron deficient and super, super sick. Super ran down. I'm sure that was all my fault because I did run her to the ground and asked her to play 40 minutes a game as a freshman. But I don't think we ever saw really. I think she did some great things, obviously, she was forced to do some great things, but I don't think we ever saw really Ellie. And, what I mean by that is I think when a lot of people think of Ellie, they think of her as just a great shooter, phenomenal shooter, right? But she's really so much more than that. She's a great defender. I mean, she can defend. She can see the floor well. She rebounds well. She just didn't have the motor that she needed last year because of some of her sickness to do those things consistently for us. We're seeing a lot more of Ellie this year, what we really expected it to look like next year. We also, with filling some pieces and that kind of stuff, we knew that we had to get her some more help in regards to, we had to get more kids that can shoot it because they were just sticking to her and collapsing off everyone else. So we really did fill that position, I thought, with it. So she's got a lot more help, I think, offensively.
Yeah. And then going into this off season, what were your plans to help improve this program for this season, not just with Ellie, but with other freshmen?
Yeah. I always believe in, from experience, whatever, but it takes way more than one great kid to win, games and to win championships and cut down nets. And so we really added, I think, some kids that can make some immediate impact for us. I think, rewatching the scrimmage, they're not quite there with, like, our stuff yet and how they need to handle stuff in the defensive and offensive end, but they've really fit in really well to who we are, and I expect them to continue just to get better and better in that. But I would definitely say that for sure.
Yeah. And for the fans at home that are going to be coming out to games this year, what should they be looking for when our ladies take the court this year?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to play really, really hard. I mean, we talk about a lion mentality, and we do talk about it. Why wouldn't we, right? With being the Lions. And a lot of times, lions aren't the fastest. They're not the biggest in the jungle and that kind of stuff. But, they continue to hunt and they continue to find ways. And so, we really talk about that. And I think that's what you're going to see is just a bunch of kids that are going to lay their heart out there. They're going to play really, really hard. We want to win all the 50-50 balls. We want to do all those little things that impact the game so much. And so I think you'll see that. I think you'll see a group that will continue to get better and better too with it. We put a new offense this year. Last year we had new offense and defense. This year we have a new offense. So we're not where we want to be with that yet, but we'll definitely get there.
Well, those things do take time, I imagine, changing up that many things. But we've seen a lot of positives, and hopefully this year we see them as well, as our Lady Lions will officially open up their season against the Kansas Jayhawks on November 6th in Lawrence, Kansas. I'll be there this weekend. I'll scout it out for you.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Be there for bowling, so I'll make sure the bowling alley is up to par for you guys. But today they had a scrimmage to get ready for the season, and Coach, how did that scrimmage go, and what did you see from your team?
Yeah, I thought we did a lot of things really great, particularly on the defensive end, which I expected because, again, putting in a new offense, it takes some time to find where the shots got to come from, who's got to get them, little bit of a pattern of it, those kind of things with it. But, defensively, I thought we did really well. I thought we executed what we wanted to do. Like I said, in the press, we got some really good stuff out of that. I think there was 2 areas that I think that we really struggled in, and that was changeover out of the press and then our ball screen D. So those are really the 2 biggest areas that stood out that we've got to find a way to get better at. But our overall half court, I was really, really, really pleased. I think we gave up 55 points. We held them to 30% from the field, 21% from the 3. We out-rebounded them offensively at 15 to their 8.
Nice.
We scored 15 points on their 15 or on our 15-0 boards. One of the things that isn't on the stat sheet that we track is kills. And so a kill is 3 stops in a row. And, it's been shown that if you get 7 kills in a game, you typically end up winning that game. You have like a 95% or higher chance of winning it. And we got 7 kills today, and obviously that was a good showing for us.
Yes. And around a week ago, the OVC coaches poll came out, with Southern Indiana, UT Martin, and Eastern Illinois rounding the top 3, and our Lions being projected to finish 7th out of 11 teams. How do you feel about that, and where do you see your team?
Yeah. Preseason polls are preseason polls. They're typically just based on how you finished last year.
Right.
But, I said it kind of in the OVC interview and my staff. I mean, we finished 10th last year, and we got picked 7th. So I think – number one, I think a lot of people in the league, a lot of coaches in the league knew that we had a lot of kids returning and saw a lot of potential in those kids and how they progressed throughout the year. So I think they had some respect with that and saw some of the kids that we were bringing in. So I was happy with that. I can tell you our kids aren't happy. 7th isn't good enough for them.
Right.
They want to win it. That's going to obviously always be our goal, something we're going to strive towards. I don't know where we'll end up. I think we've got you got to go out and you got to be able to execute both sides of the ball. You got to be able to compete day in and day out, and you got to find ways to win, and that's the biggest thing. I think last year we lost 10 games we lost 8 games by like 9 or less points in the OVC. And so when you look at that, like, if you get better coaching, okay? But no, I'm serious though. But when it came to like making plays with young kids, our kids didn't know how to do it.
Right. And
where other teams had kids that were more experienced that knew how to do that. So I think this year you're going to see a lot of that flip.
And I mean, it's hard when you first come in. I don't know. I mean, I can only relate to what I've been through. I mean, you come in, college is just so much different. College sports are a lot different. And when your number's called as a freshman or a young player, it is just tough to go out there and shake the nerves off and make the play.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
They're maturing. They're going to get better. And I'm excited to watch them this year.
Yeah. And in the last few years, we've seen a big shift in how people view women's college hoops. Before we move into our trivia questions, I'd like to know what your thoughts on the state of women's basketball are and where you see it going from here.
It's so great right now. I mean, they talk about the Caitlin Clark effect, and that is real. It is real. I think you're seeing it at all levels. I think the skill level in women's basketball is just getting better, and so I believe that's one of the reasons it's helping with that. And it's not just Caitlin. I mean, Angel Reese. You have so many people that impacted the game last year that are really taking it to another level. I'm really excited this year to see, since they're gone, who's going to start filling some of that, and what that's going to look like for sure with it. But I think it's a really exciting time for women's basketball, and I think a lot of people have jumped on board to watch it. And I think it's going to continue to get better and better.
It's really awesome to see how much attention it's gotten recently. The amount of discourse it gets in major media outlets now, and the conversation and stuff that you wouldn't have seen a few years back. And it's deserving because these players work so hard and they give it all their effort, and they're finally getting that attention. And it's also entertaining to watch.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree.
All right.
So now we'll get into our fun section.
Great.
We'll get some trivia going. Test your knowledge. Last week we did have a very tough selection of questions, but the men's soccer coach did go 5 for 5.
Okay, that's a challenge. I get it.
I feel like everybody's come in and we've given them mostly fair questions that have been relatively easy to answer, but then last week we threw some curveballs at Bill.
felt bad.
But he was a good sport about it.
Yes.
And overall, thank you, Bill, for making that happen. That was a good time.
All right, James, take it away.
All right. So in front of you, you got a piece of paper.
Okay.
It's going to be 5 multiple-choice questions. For those of you at home that are listening, you can play along as well. It might be kind of hard to grab a piece of paper and pencil this short of notice. So first one, I think it's a free space for you. I think you know this one, especially with some of the numbers you dropped already on us. You seem to have, the numbers. Which player led the team in steals last season? Was it A, Michaela Cunningham, B, Michaela Wallace, C, Justice Odom, or D, Mia Scoff?
B.
All right. Oh, I didn't give you a pencil.
Wally.
That's on me.
Wally, 72 total. Broke a record. She's a stud.
All right. Well, I think
love that kid.
You already know
that
the
one,
answer.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I need to give you the options.
Did I get the number right? Did you check?
I think, yeah. Yeah, you did get the number right. All right, you got question 2?
I should get a bonus for
you
that.
Should get,
You what? Should.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Come
We'll
on,
give
come
a
on.
bonus, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
2 right there.
Okay, yep.
All
good.
right. Which OVC team does Lindenwood have a winning record against? A, UT Martin, B, Southern Indiana, C, Little Rock, or D, Tennessee State?
Which OVC school? I'm going to go with, can I have the choices one more time, please?
Yes. UT Martin, B, Southern Indiana, C, Little Rock, or D, Tennessee State?
UT Martin.
All right.
There you go.
I got it
are
right.
on it.
Yeah.
That's good because I wasn't here the year before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
no,
that's
that,
Yeah, because
yeah.
last year we tied Tennessee State, we tied UT Martin, and we tied Little Rock.
You were
so
on
I had
it.
to go
you're
off.
on it.
Okay, that's another +1. Now I'm at 4.
No, but still,
negotiating.
you're on it though.
You're on
that
it.
is. I was looking through that, and I was looking at like head-to-head records, and I was like, that would be an interesting question to ask. But you seem to know all the answers so far. But we'll see about this one.
Okay, oh no.
The OVC tournament for women's basketball has been held every season since 1982. In that time, which OVC team has the most conference championships? Is it A, UT Martin, B, Belmont, and they're not in the conference anymore, but they were there for a long
Yeah,
time,
they were.
C, Tennessee Tech, or D, Southern Indiana?
I am going to go with Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech. All right. We are going to come back at the very end and go through all
Yes.
of the answers. So,
So what was
one.
that, C?
Yeah, that was C.
Yes.
I honestly kind of thought it was Little Rock, but I guess they were in the Sun Belt. They were in the
Yeah.
A-Sun, A-Sun, right?
They bounced
Okay,
around.
never mind.
All right.
Okay.
Question number 4. Who is the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history? Do you need the options?
No.
You don't need the options.
No.
Who is it?
Kaylin Clark.
No, all-time leading scorer in WNBA history.
Oh, WNBA. Yeah, I need options with that.
All right. Is it A, Sue Bird, B, Diana Taurasi, C, Candace Parker, or D, Tina Charles?
I'm going to go with B.
All right.
I don't think that's right, but
I don't know.
Maybe,
We're going to have to come
maybe.
back to it.
okay.
All right. And then who won the first ever NCAA women's basketball championship? And this was quite a while ago, so I was not alive. It was 1982. So your options are A, South Carolina, B, LSU, C, Connecticut, or D, Louisiana Tech.
D for sure.
Damn.
All right.
Sorry, man. That is just impressive. All right.
La
Let's
Tech.
go through really fast, see what you got. I'm just letting you know you did pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, first question was,
I got a bonus.
which player led the team in steals last season? You answered B, Michaela Wallace, and that was correct. And since you gave the exact number, you also got a bonus point. So you already got 2 points on the evening. Question number 2 was, which OVC team does Lindenwood have a winning record against? The answer was A, UT Martin. You answered UT Martin. 3 points and 2 questions. That is impressive stuff right there. 3, the OVC tournament for women's basketball has been held every season since 1982. In that time, which OVC team has the most conference championships? You answered C, which was Tennessee Tech, and the answer was Tennessee Tech. Yes. You are perfect so far. Question number 4, who is the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history? You answered B, Diana Taurasi, And it is B, Diana Taurasi with 10,646 points. And our final question, the one that I thought was going to be really hard because I didn't know this until I looked it up this morning. Who won the first ever NCAA women's basketball championship? You answered D, Louisiana Tech, and it was Louisiana Tech. 6 points, 5 questions.
That's right.
And that is a brand
new record.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Yes.
But honestly, though, thank you for coming on the show this evening. I really look forward to the season ahead.
Thank you, guys.
And I think we had a fun time today. This was a
Yeah.
really good show.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate your insight. And, you guys, this year, if you're listening at home, be sure to go to the games, be checking Lindenwood Athletics pages, follow on social media.
Yes.
And I think that's all we got for tonight. So once again,
Make
thank
sure
you. Oh,
you come out to Highland October 30th for Lions Late Night.
true
It's
that.
basketball season kickoff.
See,
right.
Yeah.
You got the sponsor reads right there.
Oh, I
you
just
came up with it
know it.
on the spot, too.
Oh, I just know
Yeah, you
it.
studied the material.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thank you to Lindenwood Athletics for making this possible. I've really enjoyed the show so far. We've got to talk to a lot of cool people, get a lot of cool insight. So let's keep this rolling. We don't know who we got next week, but it's going to be a good show no matter what.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.